Hello, and welcome to today's podcast, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of psychology, success, and generosity. Based on the groundbreaking book Give and Take by Adam Grant. In this episode, we'll explore the central themes of the book, starting with a critical analysis of the three types of people. Adam Grant categorizes in the workplace and beyond: givers, takers, and matchers. Each of these types represents a distinct approach to relationships, collaboration, and how we interact with others. By understanding these categories, you'll get a better idea of how generosity can impact not only your personal life, but also your professional trajectory. The power of generosity. Before we dive into the specifics of each category, let's understand one crucial idea that forms the foundation of give and take. Success is not just about individual effort and achievement, but also about how we interact with others. Grant argues that the most successful people are often those who give more than they take. While that may sound counterintuitive, especially in a world that often celebrates individualism and self-promotion, Grant provides compelling evidence that generosity, in the form of helping others without expecting immediate returns, is often the most powerful driver of long-term success. The concept of giving is not just about donating money or time, but about contributing value to the people around you. It's about being other-focused instead of self-focused. And this shift in perspective is a powerful tool, not just for personal satisfaction, but for achieving success in your career, relationships, and overall well-being. The three types of people: givers, takers, and matchers. Adam Grant identifies three distinct types of people, which we'll explore in more detail in this segment. Givers. These are people who help others without expecting anything in return. They act with a spirit of generosity and are often motivated by a deep sense of empathy. Givers enjoy seeing others succeed and often go out of their way to offer support, whether it's advice, time, resources, or just a helping hand. Takers. On the opposite end of the spectrum are takers. Takers tend to prioritize their own interests above others and are often more self-serving in their interactions. They seek to gain as much as possible from others without offering much in return, and they often use their connections and resources to advance their own goals. Matchers. Matchers fall somewhere in the middle. They operate on a principle of fairness. If someone does something for them, they are willing to return the favor, but they are not as purely altruistic as givers. Matchers expect a balanced exchange, which means they engage in relationships with the goal of keeping the give and take dynamic even. Let's break down each of these types in more detail, starting with the givers. Givers, the surprising path to success. At first glance, you might think that givers would be at a disadvantage in a world that values self-promotion and assertiveness. After all, if you're constantly giving and helping others without asking for anything in return, you might assume that others would take advantage of you. But, as Grant reveals in Give and Take, givers often achieve more than takers and matchers over the long run. Why is this the case? First, givers tend to build stronger networks and relationships. When you help others without expecting anything in return, people remember that generosity, and it often creates a sense of trust and goodwill. This trust can lead to future opportunities that might not have been possible otherwise. People are more likely to support you when they feel that you have genuinely contributed to their success, even if there's no immediate gain for you. Furthermore, givers often inspire reciprocity. When someone helps you, especially without asking for anything in return, you may feel a deep sense of gratitude. This gratitude can translate into a willingness to help them back in the future, even if that person never directly asks for your help. Givers can also be more creative and collaborative. Because they are focused on the success of others, they tend to look for opportunities to solve problems together. This fosters a collaborative environment where creativity thrives, as people feel more comfortable sharing their ideas and taking risks. But there's more to the story. Grant reveals that there are different kinds of givers, and some are far more effective than others. The dark side of giving: the problem with self-sacrifice. It's important to note that not all giving is equally effective. While giving can be incredibly powerful, it's possible to go too far. In fact, some givers, what Grant calls self-sacrificing givers, can end up sabotaging themselves. These individuals give at their own expense, often neglecting their own needs in the process. They might take on too much, burn out, or be exploited by takers. Grant provides examples of individuals who are generous to a fault, to the point where they deplete their own resources and energy without reaping any rewards. While their motives are noble, their approach ultimately harms their well-being and success. For giving to be effective, it has to be strategic. Grant emphasizes that givers should be smart about how they help others. This means giving in a way that adds value without compromising your own goals, boundaries, and energy. Giving strategically allows givers to build strong, long-term relationships without burning out. Takers. The risk of self-interest. On the other end of the spectrum, we have takers. Takers are driven by self-interest. They prioritize their own success and advancement, often at the expense of others. Takers are typically more focused on extracting value from relationships than contributing value to them. They may try to take credit for others' work or use people as stepping stones to climb the corporate ladder. While this approach can sometimes yield short-term gains, takers might get ahead temporarily by taking advantage of others. They are often less successful in the long run. This is because their behavior tends to alienate others and erode trust. People are less likely to collaborate with or support someone who is perceived as selfish or manipulative. Over time, takers can build a reputation as someone who only looks out for themselves, and this can limit their future opportunities. Relationships built on exploitation rarely stand the test of time. Trust, which is the foundation of any successful relationship, is hard to rebuild once it's broken. But it's important to note that not all takers are necessarily bad people. Some people are simply unaware of how their actions affect others, and Grant suggests that many takers could actually shift their behavior and become more successful if they became more aware of the long-term consequences of their actions. Matchers, the pragmatic middle ground. Lastly, we have matchers. As we mentioned earlier, matchers are people who operate based on fairness and balance. They believe in a "you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours" approach. They are motivated by a desire for fairness, and they engage in relationships with the expectation that any help or favor will be reciprocated. Matchers are often seen as the most pragmatic and neutral of the three types. They are neither overly generous nor overly self-serving, but instead try to maintain balance and fairness in their relationships. While matchers are more likely to help others than takers, they are less likely to go out of their way to help without expecting something in return, unlike givers. One of the benefits of being a matcher is that they often know how to strike a balance between giving and protecting their own interests. They avoid the pitfalls of givers who give too much, and they also steer clear of the toxic behavior of takers. However, matchers might not experience the same depth of trust and goodwill that givers do because they are often seen as transactional in their approach. The ripple effect of giving. One of the key takeaways from give and take is the idea that giving has a ripple effect. When you help others, you don't just benefit yourself in the immediate moment, but you set off a chain reaction of goodwill. As people feel supported and valued, they are more likely to help others in turn. This creates a cycle of generosity that can transform entire communities, organizations, and even industries. In the workplace, giving creates an environment where people feel safe to collaborate, share ideas, and take risks. The result is increased creativity, problem-solving, and innovation. In fact, organizations that foster a culture of giving are often the most successful in the long run. The evidence behind giving. Research and real-life examples. One of the central points Grant makes in Give and Take is that givers often come out on top. But it's not just based on anecdotal evidence or intuition, it's backed by solid research. Grant conducted a variety of studies and analyzed real-world examples that demonstrate the impact of generosity on success. One of the most compelling studies Grant references is from the world of sales. In this study, salespeople were categorized into givers, takers, and matchers based on how they interacted with their clients. The results were striking. Givers were the most successful in the long run, despite the fact that they initially made fewer sales than takers. How is this possible? So, it turns out that givers build stronger, more trusting relationships with their clients. When givers give freely and help others without expecting anything in return, their clients feel valued. This fosters loyalty, repeat business, and word-of-mouth referrals, which ultimately lead to greater long-term success. In contrast, takers may make a big sale initially, but their self-serving behavior eventually leads to a breakdown in trust and fewer opportunities in the future. Grant's research also highlights how givers perform better in team settings. In a study involving college students working in groups, givers were more likely to help their teammates and share valuable information. As a result, the group as a whole performed better. Givers' willingness to help others created a collaborative environment that led to greater success for everyone involved. Takers, on the other hand, often hoarded information and didn't share their knowledge, which led to lower performance for their teams. These studies show that givers aren't just successful because they're nice people, they succeed because their generosity creates a positive feedback loop. By helping others, givers build strong, supportive relationships that pay off in the long run. And this is true not just in sales or team settings, but across a variety of industries and professions. The role of reciprocity, how giving leads to mutual benefit. One of the key reasons givers are so successful is the power of reciprocity. When you give without expecting anything in return, you activate a sense of reciprocity in others. People who receive help from givers often feel a deep sense of gratitude and are motivated to return the favor, even if the giver never explicitly asks for anything. This sense of reciprocity is not just a social nicety, it's hardwired into our psychology. Grant cites research that shows how humans are naturally inclined to reciprocate kindness. In fact, this principle of reciprocity is one of the reasons why giving can lead to long-term success. As givers help others, they create a network of people who feel indebted to them in a positive way, which results in future opportunities and support. For example, imagine you help a colleague with a challenging project. They might not be able to return the favor immediately, but they'll likely remember your generosity. Down the road, when an opportunity arises where they can assist you, they'll be more inclined to do so because they feel a sense of obligation to reciprocate your kindness. This creates a positive cycle of support and collaboration that benefits both parties. Grant also emphasizes the idea of generosity contagion. When one person gives, it inspires others to give as well. This ripple effect leads to an environment where people are more likely to collaborate, share resources, and support each other. In the workplace, this creates a culture of cooperation that can enhance overall productivity and innovation. The importance of trust and reputation. Another reason givers tend to succeed is that they build a reputation for being trustworthy and dependable. Trust is one of the most important factors in both personal and professional relationships, and givers naturally cultivate trust by consistently helping others. Grant points to research in the field of negotiations to illustrate this point. In negotiation studies, givers are often more successful because they're seen as trustworthy partners. People are more willing to make concessions or work together with someone they trust. In contrast, takers may get short-term gains by being manipulative, but they lose the trust of others over time, making it difficult to form successful long-term partnerships. When you help others without expecting anything in return, you signal that you are reliable and that you have the best interests of others at heart. This makes people more likely to collaborate with you in the future, whether it's in business, academia, or other areas of life. Givers become known for their generosity, and this reputation opens doors for them that might otherwise remain closed. The power of trust and reputation can also help givers when things don't go according to plan. For example, if a giver encounters a setback or makes a mistake, others are more likely to offer support and give them a second chance. The generosity that givers show to others is often reciprocated in times of need, creating a strong safety net that helps them bounce back from failures or difficulties. Givers and long-term success, playing the long game. One of the most important insights from Give and Take is that givers tend to play the long game rather than seeking immediate rewards. While takers might achieve quick success through self-serving behavior, givers often experience more sustainable success over time because their generosity builds a network of trust and support that lasts for years. Grant emphasizes that success isn't just about immediate results. It's about building long-term relationships. and creating an environment where collaboration and mutual support can thrive. Givers are more likely to cultivate a network of people who are invested in their success, and this network becomes a valuable resource for navigating challenges, seizing opportunities, and achieving long-term goals. In the business world, this idea is often referred to as relationship capital. Givers build relationships that are based on trust, collaboration, and reciprocity. These relationships can provide ongoing opportunities for growth and success. In contrast, takers may have a series of short-term wins, but they lack the deep, lasting relationships that create long-term value. Grant shares the story of the iconic businessman and philanthropist Bill Gates as an example of a giver who has played the long game. Gates is known for his commitment to philanthropy and his willingness to share his knowledge and resources with others. His generosity has not only made a difference in the world, but it has also enhanced his own success by building strong relationships with other leaders, organizations, and individuals who share his vision, overcoming the challenges of being a giver. Of course, being a giver is not without its challenges. As we discussed in the previous segment, givers can sometimes fall prey to burnout or exploitation if they're not careful. The key is to be strategic about how and when you give. Givers must learn to set boundaries and prioritize their time and energy to avoid being taken advantage of by takers or draining themselves in the process. Grant also points out that givers need to be mindful of how they approach giving. It's not just about giving for the sake of giving, but about giving in ways that are meaningful and aligned with your goals. By focusing on what matters most and giving in ways that add value to both yourself and others, you can ensure that your generosity leads to positive outcomes for everyone involved. How to be an effective giver. Generosity with strategy. If you want to harness the power of giving to advance in your career, build stronger relationships, and create a more fulfilling life, it's crucial to understand that giving doesn't mean doing everything for everyone. Instead, effective giving involves being strategic about when, how, and to whom you offer help. Grant emphasizes that giving is most effective when it's focused on adding real value to others' lives. This means understanding the needs of the people you're helping and offering support in ways that are meaningful and impactful. It's not just about giving for the sake of giving. It's about offering something that truly makes a difference to the person you're helping. Here are a few ways you can become a more effective giver. Identify opportunities to help. Start by looking for opportunities where your help will have the most impact. If you're in a workplace setting, this could mean mentoring a colleague, sharing helpful resources, or offering guidance on a challenging project. In personal relationships, it might involve being there for a friend in need or sharing your expertise on a topic they're struggling with. The key is to be thoughtful about where your generosity can truly add value. Prioritize your giving. Being a giver doesn't mean you have to help everyone all the time. It's important to set priorities based on where you can make the biggest difference. Be selective in how you allocate your time, energy, and resources. By focusing your efforts where they matter most, you can maximize the impact of your giving without spreading yourself too thin. Give in a way that is sustainable. Effective giving is sustainable. You want to give in ways that don't drain you emotionally, physically, or mentally. This means setting boundaries and not taking on more than you can handle. When you give in a way that feels manageable and balanced, you can continue to help others over the long term without burning out. Leverage your strengths. One of the most effective ways to give is by leveraging your unique skills and strengths. Whether you're a great communicator, a skilled problem solver, or an expert in a particular field, your ability to offer specific help that others may need can be incredibly valuable. Giving in ways that align with your strengths not only benefits others, but also allows you to feel more fulfilled in your contributions. Seek mutual benefit. While giving is about helping others, it's also important to remember that giving doesn't have to be a one-way street. Look for ways that both you and the person you're helping can benefit from the interaction. For instance, when you help a colleague with a project, you might also learn something new or gain new skills in the process. Giving in a way that benefits both parties creates a sense of reciprocity and mutual respect, strengthening the relationship in the long run. Setting boundaries, protecting yourself from exploitation. One of the key challenges that givers face is the potential for exploitation. If you're someone who tends to give freely and selflessly, it's easy to become vulnerable to takers, people who will gladly take advantage of your generosity without offering anything in return. Adam Grant highlights the importance of setting boundaries in order to avoid being exploited by takers. While givers have the potential to be the most successful, they also risk burnout if they don't manage their giving wisely. Here are a few strategies for setting boundaries and protecting yourself from exploitation. Learn to say no. One of the most important skills for a giver is learning how to say no when it's necessary. While it's tempting to say yes to every request for help, doing so can lead to burnout and resentment. Saying no is not a sign of selfishness, it's a sign of self-care and an acknowledgement of your limits. Saying no helps ensure that your generosity doesn't drain you or compromise your own goals and priorities. Recognize takers. In order to protect yourself from being taken advantage of, it's crucial to recognize takers. Takers often seek to extract value from others without offering anything in return. They may ask for favors, resources, or time without reciprocating. While not all takers are intentionally malicious, it's important to be aware of those who are more interested in their own gain than in building a mutually beneficial relationship. One way to recognize takers is to observe their behavior over time. Are they consistently asking for help without offering any assistance in return? Do they often take credit for other people's work or make requests without offering anything of value? If so, they may fall into the category of takers. Be mindful of exploitation. Even if someone is not a malicious taker, it's possible to be unknowingly exploited by others. For example, you might be helping a colleague on a project, only to realize that they are consistently relying on you for support without contributing much in return. In these cases, it's important to reassess the relationship and ensure that the giving is reciprocal. If not, it may be time to set clearer boundaries or reduce the amount of help you provide. Engage in upstream giving. Rather than just responding to requests for help, try to engage in upstream giving, proactively offering assistance or guidance before people need to ask. This not only strengthens relationships, but can also prevent situations where you feel like you're constantly being drained by requests for help. By anticipating needs and offering help in advance, you can set a more balanced tone for your relationships. Leveraging your generosity to build strong networks. In the book, Adam Grant talks about the power of networks and how givers tend to build stronger, more supportive networks over time. When you give freely and generously, you build a reputation for being someone others can rely on. This reputation is valuable and can open doors in ways that you might not expect. A key takeaway here is the idea of networking through giving. Instead of seeing networking as a transactional process where you give with the hope of receiving something in return, think of it as an opportunity to help others without an expectation of direct reciprocity. By being generous with your time, expertise, or connections, you build a network that is based on trust and mutual respect, and people will be more likely to support you when the time comes. Moreover, effective network building through giving leads to more collaboration, which can result in opportunities for professional growth, partnerships, and creative ventures. When you help others succeed, they are more likely to remember your contributions and find ways to include you in their success as well. The ripple effect of giving, inspiring others. Finally, remember that the effects of your generosity can have a ripple effect. By being a giver, you inspire others to give as well. When you help someone, they're more likely to help someone else, creating a culture of generosity that can spread throughout your organization, community, or social network. This concept of generosity contagion means that your actions can set off a chain reaction of positive behavior. When you model generosity, others are more likely to follow suit, and the cycle of giving becomes self-sustaining. This not only strengthens the relationships within your network, but also creates an environment where cooperation and mutual support are the norm. We've discussed practical strategies for becoming a more effective giver. We've explored how to give in ways that add value, how to set boundaries to protect yourself from exploitation, and how to build strong, reciprocal relationships that lead to long-term success. We've also highlighted the importance of networking through giving and the ripple effect that generosity can have on others. Remember, the key to being a successful giver is to be thoughtful, strategic, and self-aware. By giving in ways that align with your strengths, values, and goals, you can make a meaningful impact on the people around you, and ultimately, on your own success. Giving isn't just a way to help others. It's a powerful tool for advancing your own career, building deeper relationships, and creating a more fulfilling life. And that wraps up today's episode of our deep dive into Give and Take by Adam Grant. We've covered a lot of ground today: how givers can succeed, the science behind generosity, and how you can apply these powerful principles in your own life. If you found today's episode insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on future episodes. We've got more great content coming your way, from book summaries to tips on personal development, leadership, and success. And hey, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Are you a giver, a taker, or a matcher? How do you apply generosity in your own life? We'd love to hear from you. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who could benefit from the insights in Give and Take. Let's keep the conversation going and build a community of like-minded individuals who want to grow together. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, keep giving, keep growing, and as always, keep thriving. If you found this